So RPE, that's what we're here to learn about and talk about today. RPE is rate of perceived exertion. This is simply a subjective way of you controlling the weights in which you use in your gym sessions. Now, why do we want to use RPE? Well, science shows once you get used to adapting to controlling your weights with an RPE, it's just as good, if not better, than percentage-based program. So instead of me getting you to test a 1 rep max, which is going to fatigue you, getting a percentage, and then setting all your weights based off that percentage, which is going to delay the time and I can get your results, we're going to teach you RPE. This course is also about building a foundation for you to get better results after our 12 weeks as well as amazing results within the 12 weeks. So I'm going to be your guide on how to get used to using RPE for your training to get the best results possible. So RPE is simply a scale of 1 to 10. Now we don't really need to ever worry about 6 or below because we're not going to be using that with our training. But essentially, it's a rating of how hard we perceive that weight to be or how hard that set was. So a 10 is going to be that it was an all-out max effort. You couldn't get any more. Really close to failure, 10 was a max. A 9 means you had 1 more rep in the tank. An 8 was 2 more reps, a 7 was 3 more reps. So that's how simple it is, basically. Now there's also 0.5s, which is basically ambiguity. I'll chuck a scale up here to also make this easier to understand. So ambiguity just means, 9.5 means you're not sure if you had 1 more, you're not sure if it was a complete max out, so 9.5 gives you that freedom to say, not sure. Same with 8.5, you're not sure if it was 1 or 2 left in the tank, so you give it an 8.5 instead of 8 or 9. Now I'm going to program numbers here for you. If you have 2 numbers, that simply means you want to stay in that range. So for example, let's say that you have a 6 to 7 for 3 sets of 8. You want your first set to feel roughly like a 6, so you do 8 reps and you go, I probably could do 4 more. Obviously, each subsequent set is going to get tougher, so that RPE is going to go up. As long as it stays lower than a 7, you're using the right amount of weight. If it gets to the point where you're nearly failing on, say, your 3rd set with 8, that was too heavy, we need to drop it down and adjust based on that. Now, why do we use this RPE instead of other methods? Well, it's quite simple. We often have busy jobs. A lot of you guys here, your biggest thing was you're struggling with time, you're struggling with your scheduling. I get that, and I have the same thing. Sometimes I have to be up really early one morning while being up late the night before with clients. I'm just not going to be as strong that day. Shit happens in life. Maybe you didn't eat as well, you didn't sleep as well, you're feeling a little bit stressed. What you need to understand is your body physically doesn't know the number that's on that bar. If I'm squatting with 160 kilos or 140 kilos, if that feels like an RPE 9 to me, that's what's going to get me the response and stimulus from my body that day. If I try and push too hard and do the 160, I'm just going to fail, burn out, overtrain, and get no results. So the key is we're trying to get yourself to understand that, yes, it's important to work at a certain percentage, but that percentage is going to vary on how well you're doing. Now, obviously, in an ideal world, you're recording the weights that you do each week. So if you do 3x8 with squats last week at 120 kilos, your goal is to come in and do 3x8 at 122.5 or 125 kilos, having a slight increase on last week based on how you're feeling. But we also have that RPE scale there as a backup, because if you come in feeling amazing and 120 is flying, well then you can make the jump up and go to 130 as long as that's still at your perceived RPE. However, you may come in and you're beat up, you didn't have good sleep, maybe you're playing an athletic sport and it took a lot out of you the day before, and you'll start warming up and you put 120 on your back and it just feels horrendously heavy. So what do? You use your RPE goal when you go, I'm just not feeling it today. So judging on how you feel, you make an educated guess on how much lighter you should be, and you go down to that weight. So maybe you drop down to 110 this week, and that's still going to give you enough response to grow because your body doesn't know how heavy it's lifting. It just knows it's working really hard at, say, an 8 RPE. You don't need to bury yourself. This gives us freedom to train and adjust around our work schedules, our life schedules, and still see awesome results. Because remember, there is such thing as overtraining. I will be doing this in other videos and going more and more in depth on all these concepts. But I'm throwing a big one at you today with RPE, so I'm going to keep that simple. So what the goal is to be better than last week, provided your body's feeling good. Now, I've done this a lot of times that, of course, it works really well. Every now and then it is a bit of an ego hit, but you must understand that if you overtrain, then it's going to cause a big problem with seeing your results down the track. You have to remember there's 2 components to getting fit. There's fitness and fatigue. Now, when we lift weights, We break down muscles. We don't build them in the gym. We create the stimulus for them to be built with our nutrition when we're resting. So that's also why you build fatigue as you build fitness. The harder the workout, the more fatigue you come after. Your goal is to allow the fatigue to drop off and come back fitter than last time to see your results. RPE allows us to see how much you've recovered and make sure you can still keep your 3 training sessions a week without digging too deep a recovery hole. Simply put, say you train on Monday, you come back in on Wednesday. You haven't fully recovered, so we don't want to beat you up with a super intense workout that's going to dig you even deeper into the recovery hole. So you work based on that RPE for the day. So it may be a milder workout when you're talking about absolutes, but it's what your body needs, because we're looking at getting stronger over 12 weeks. That doesn't happen by giant, dramatic changes within 1 or 2 weeks. It happens by continuously being better and better and better, controlling the fatigue and fitness model. You need to make sure that in between your workouts, you're doing the right things: sleeping, eating, nutrition, recovery, stretching, foam rolling, all of these things I'm going to be teaching you about to ensure that you get adequate results and you come back stronger than last time in the gym. And what really matters is over the 4 weeks, have all lifts go up. You're going to go up and down. It's just like weight loss. It's never a nice, steady, linear path. You're going to have good workouts. You're going to have bad workouts. RPE still allows all those workouts to be effective. That's what matters. Instead of looking at them good or bad, using the RPE model makes them effective because you're working with what your body gives you on that day. Now, this method takes a little bit while to get used to because sometimes you under or overjudge yourself. That's fine. That's what this group's for. I would like you to, if you feel like you're struggling, record your last set of your lift or lifts if you want all of them checked. I want you to then post them to the group and tell me what you believe the RPE was. I'll have a look at it and let you know if maybe you're being a bit sissy and it's a little bit lower than what you think. Like you said, it's an 8 and I'm like, definitely only a 6. You need to go a little harder. Or maybe you're that guy who just trains so hard and you nearly failed and you're like, it was only an 8 RPE. That's fine. It's a subjective method. This is how we're going to work together to make sure you're accurately rating your RPEs so you can get the most out of your training. So that's how you're going to understand what the RPEs next to your training program are, so you know how to train adjusting on that. Now, keep in mind, RPE is good. You're always focusing on doing more than last week. As our code says, be better than yesterday. However, that doesn't mean if you did 120 last week and you feel like trash this week that you have to better it. Even just matching it if RPE is the same is a win. If you go in feeling like crap and you matched your weight that you did last week feeling good, that means you get stronger because you're not fully recovered, but you still lifted the same weight. So that's the overarching principle of RPE, guys. I hope that was very helpful. I hope that was very understandable, and I'll see you in your next lesson.